Alright, this video is going to be over genetics and heredity. So, genetics is the study of heredity, which is the biological process where a parent passes certain genes onto their offspring, or their children. Genes are inherited from both parents through sexual reproduction, and these genes express specific traits or characteristics. So, first we're going to talk about who coined genetics or did the first significant research on it. His name is Gregor Mendel. He was also known as the father of genetics. He was born in 1822 and was a monk from Austria. He discovered the basic principles of heredity and experimented on pea flowers and showed their traits follow a specific pattern. So, let's review. Chromosomes are found in the nucleus of a cell and carry genes. So remember, the nucleus is the main organelle in each cell. And genes are segments of DNA on a chromosome that are responsible for inherited traits, such as eye color, hair color, height, stuff like that. So some vocabulary. A genotype is the genetic makeup of an organism. So it is actually the genes. So you can think of genotype, starts with the G, and genetic starts with the G. Now a phenotype is the appearance of an organism based on its genotype plus environmental factors. So you can think of it as the physical characteristics or what you can see. So physical starts with a P and phenotype starts with a P. So in this example over here, the genotype, these are specific genetic codes, and the phenotype is what they express, or the physical things you can see. All right. So genetics, again, alleles are the variations or differences in a gene. They occur on a fixed spot on a chromosome, and in humans, an allele might indicate blood type, color blindness, or any other traits. So these are genes. Each little gene is these colors, or these are chromosomes, and each of these colors is a different chromosome. And then the allele is that little segment on each one. So on the blue, the allele is for purple flowers, and on the red, the allele is for white flowers. So dominant and recessive traits, or alleles, describe how likely it is for a certain phenotype trait to pass from a parent to offspring. Dominant alleles show their effect with only one copy of the allele, and recessive alleles show their effect with two copies of the allele. So in the picture of the cats, long hair is recessive. So long hair, you have to have two recessive genes in order to see the long hair on the cat. And short hair, you only need one short hair to show itself on the cat. Inherited traits are genetically determined characteristics that you get from your parents. So offspring has a combination of both of parents' genes. So examples are skin, hair color, eye color, height, and freckles. So this is if you have siblings and you have brown eyes and your sibling has blue eyes. They are both passed down from your parents if you share the same parents, but one just expresses itself more than the other. So examples of dominant traits in dogs: short hair, brown eyes, large ears, curly hair, and ears that stand up. And recessive traits are long hair, blue eyes, small ears, straight hair, or droopy ears. All right. So a homozygous dominant carries two copies of the same dominant allele. So whenever we were doing genetics and the alleles, the big capital letter is going to be a dominant allele. And if they're lowercase, they're going to be recessive. So you have three options when it comes. You can have homozygous dominant, which means that both of the alleles are capital letters. You can have heterozygous, which means it carries different alleles, so a big B and a little b, or a big letter and a little letter. And then you can have homozygous recessive, which carries 2 copies of the same recessive allele, so 2 lowercase letters. So another way to think about is homozygous. Homo means same, so that means those alleles are going to be the same, either both capital or both lowercase, depending on if it's dominant or recessive. So Punnett Square is a diagram used by geneticists to determine the probability or chance of an offspring having a particular phenotype. A probability is expressed in a percentage. So in this case, parent A was homozygous recessive because they are both lowercase letters. And parent B was heterozygous, which means they had a capital letter and a lowercase letter. So each of these boxes represents 25% chances. So Punnett squares examine one of many genes that are passed on through sexual reproduction, and it shows all possible ways the offspring can inherit the gene from 2 parents. So if we were to draw a box, we need 4 squares in it for a Punnett square. Then you would choose a letter to represent a trait, 1 capital and 1 lowercase letter. In this example, we're using the letter Y. So a capital Y is yellow and a lowercase y is green. Now let's say you have a green pod, which is 2 lowercase y's because the recessive gene is the green color, and a yellow pea pod that is either capital Y, lowercase y, or both capital Y's because that is dominant. So you're going to set up your table. So the green pea pod, you have lowercase y and lowercase y. And then the yellow pea pod, we're going to use a capital Y and a lowercase y because it's heterozygous, which means it has 1 of each. All right? Then you simply fill the boxes with the genotype combinations and figure out the percentage for each box. So in order to fill in the boxes with the combinations, we're basically going to go down and over for that box. So if I start at capital Y and I go down, I need to put my capital Y right here, and then I go over and it's a lowercase y. So it's capital Y, lowercase y. If we hop in over here, we have a lowercase y and a lowercase y. That goes right here because I'm going down and over. And if I go back to this big one and try and fill in this third box, I go down and over. So it's capital Y, lowercase y.